Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. It is Sat Chat time. Yes, it's our favorite time of the week, isn't it, guys? It is 2:45 in the afternoon, Friday afternoon, when I'm recording this. I don't know why. I don't know why I need to tell you that. Probably so nobody thinks I'm actually awake and like with my hair and makeup done at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, because that does not happen. When Sat Chat goes live, I'm usually sipping coffee on my couch in my living room, easing into the day. So yeah, I don't want anyone to think I'm this perky this early on a Saturday morning, I guess. Although you could be watching it anytime. This is take 3, by the way, and this is as good as it's got. Can you imagine what the other 2 takes are like if this is the one I'm keeping? Oh my gosh. So today I worked on Critique Club, which will go up this weekend. It might be up now. If you're a Critique Club member, you can check it out. I will post a link in the video description in case anybody is interested. Critique Club is just a, it's a group I have. I have like over 60 long format real-time tutorials with more advanced subjects. This is what we're going to do this week. It's actually a portrait of my daughter. I'm going to turn that light down just for a second. So it's Lila. I've done a portrait of Maisie in the past in Critique Club, but it's kind of a nice mixing skin tones, different like drawing faces, that sort of thing. So you can find that lesson in Critique Club, and it's $5 a month if you want to join. You can cancel anytime. It's you know, there's a prompt every month. You can share your work for critique if you want some feedback from me on the original work you're working on, or you can follow along with the tutorials, share those works as well. It's something for everybody, I think, anyway. So I'll link to that down below. I had a lot of fun with that, and I'll be interested to see what you guys think of it. There'll be a time lapse on Sunday on my YouTube channel if you just want to see it kind of come together quickly. And I used my Lucas watercolors. I really like these for portraits because I just feel like they capture the nuance of skin tones really well. Last year for Inktober, I did figures. So I did a figure every day for the month of October. And I use these a lot because I found that they just work so well for portraits and figures. So if you love to do that sort of work, I highly would recommend these paints. I'll link to these down below. I have a set with Jerry's Artarama where we've got this set of paints. We have cotton watercolor paper, wonderful Creative Mark faux squirrel brushes, and yeah, it's just a nice kind of get you started with really good supplies that aren't like crazy expensive. So that's the other thing. I think they're quite affordable for an artist grade product. I do know Lucas is available in tubes as well. I haven't used their tubes. I've only used their pans, but I've been very happy with them, and I've been using them for quite a few years. I purchased a set of 48 a few years ago, and I really like them. I just like that. It's a very subtle, nuanced watercolor. I wouldn't call it like a modern watercolor. You know, the more modern colors are more in your face, a lot more vibrant, with a lot more movement in water. These are more, they move in water. I mean, don't get me wrong, but they definitely are just easier to control when you're doing portraits and stuff for whatever reason. The tones just are very flattering, I think. Just I don't know. When I'm doing portraits, I reach for those anyway. So I'll link those down below too. I hope I'll remember to. Sometimes I get talking about so much stuff and I can't remember what I've said, but I did make a list on my phone so I wouldn't run out of topics in case I, was a loss for words, as I often am. So pizza news, new dough news. So remember like a couple months ago I was talking about KitchenAid because I borrowed my friend Kim's, that's my son Jackson's girlfriend's mom, Kim. So they have this big outdoor pizza oven that her husband made. It's really cool. And so I showed her how I make my dough, and she lent me her KitchenAid, and it was like, oh my word, this is so crazy. So it was funny because I was looking around my kitchen for a cookie cutter, and I have a box of like decorative cookie cutters over in the room of hoard, which I think I'm gonna get rid of. But I have this box of like novelty cookie cutters, those like, a flag and a dreidel and a reindeer and a race car, all these different like crazy, like over 100 probably different crazy cookie cutters. And I got them when the kids were little, and they would trace around them. We would use them for cookies. I think I ended up pulling out the ones I actually used for cookies frequently, like ones without the fiddly bits that break off all the time. And then the rest of them, the kids would use them for clay and whatnot. And and so the circle cookie cutter wasn't in there. I was sure I pulled that out along with some of the really like kind of more bold cookie cutter shapes that are actually useful. I could not find them. But when I was looking for them, I found a dough blade for my Ninja food we got the Ninja, the one that does like smoothies. It's got like the cups with the lids, and it has a little food processor that goes onto it. And that is always on the kitchen counter, with the smoothie cups anyway. because the kids were always making smoothies and protein shakes, and I use the little food processor attachment to chop up garlic and to make pesto and all that stuff. So it gets used a lot, so it stays on the counter. It's used almost every day. And I found a dough blade for that, so I'm like, oh, I gotta check this out. So I actually made dough in my Ninja food processor. Of course, I can only make like half a batch at a time, but it would like, you make it in like 30 seconds, so it's like crazy fast. And then you can just like, you know, throw in a bowl or a bag and let it rise, and then, you know, punch it down, do what you want to do with it. Worked unreal, unbelievable. I'm like, I don't need a KitchenAid. That is awesome. That worked so well. I couldn't believe it. It was just so easy. Never did find the cookie cutter, so what I did was I used a drinking glass. So there's a hot tip for you there. If you need a cookie cutter or a biscuit cutter or anything like that, and you don't have one, use a little bowl or a little drinking glass and it will work just fine. So the reason I needed the cookie cutter though, and I have to share this recipe with you because it's amazing. I saw a video on, I don't know what it was, like Instagram or maybe Facebook, I don't know, but it was one of those, maybe it was YouTube, maybe it was a short, I don't know, it was a really quick video though, and the person had rolled out pizza dough and then used a cookie cutter and cut out like cookies of pizza dough and pushed them in muffin tins and then brushed them with butter and then put in like marinara sauce and cheese or whatever toppings they want and bake them. And I'm like, oh, how easy is that? So I did that. I used on mine, I used vegan margarine. I had some vegan cheese because we're going to a pizza night at Kim and Andy's. And so I had bought some vegan mozzarella. You have to use that like within a week. So I knew I wasn't going to use all of it there. So I'm like, well, I'll get this. I can make the pizza cups here, and then I can use the rest at the pizza night because it would go bad. It goes bad after a week. So I didn't want it to go to waste. It's kind of expensive. It's very decadent and delicious, so I don't get it too often. But so I did that. I did the, I pressed them into I sprayed the pans with like cooking spray, and I put my little pizza dough cookies in there, made them as thin as I could, and then I brushed them all with vegan margarine, and then I put a scoop of marinara sauce, probably like a tablespoon, and I topped it with the vegan cheese, and baked it. Now I did another tray with Alfredo and mozzarella and real butter, and I did another one with, you know, real butter and marinara sauce and regular cheese, and they were a hit. Which is really nice because you don't have to have like if you don't have a pizza cutter, then you don't have to worry about cutting it or portioning it. It's so easy. They're like little muffins of pizza. They were amazing. They were like better than pizza, which I don't know why. The ingredients are pretty much the same. Probably brushing on the the margarine or butter probably made it like extra decadent, but the kids loved it. Yeah, so that's another one for the Weirich recipe book. I'm definitely going to gonna make. I've made them twice so far, and they were a hit. And now I can make any sort of dough product faster in my food processor. So yeah, I love, because I love making bread. I hate kneading bread, and I do have a bread machine, and occasionally I will use that for like getting dough if I don't feel like dealing with it. But with a bread machine, I still find that I've got like the rubber scraper, and I have to go like scrape down the sides and make sure that the dough consists. I don't measure anything, so that's probably part of it. I never measure when I'm making bread. I just throw the ingredients together, and if it feels right, and just kind of add a little more water or a little more flour until it feels right. And because like if it's a humid day, if it's a rainy day, you're gonna need more flour or less water, you know. So I just kind of bake bread by feel. And I experiment, and you know, it always comes out. It's always good. So that worked out really well. And with a bread machine, if you don't have your proportions quite right, then I don't know. It seems like I have as much hands-on time with a bread machine than I do just with a bowl, and it's more to wash. I know. I just keep looking for reasons to get rid of the bread machine because it takes up like almost an entire cabinet. It's ridiculous, but I'm always looking for ways to get rid of stuff, to things that will do double duty. Speaking of getting rid of stuff, we've got a bunch of stuff in the Jeep to go to the thrift store to donate. Because we went through all the puzzles and games again, and I would always keep up with that. Every couple of years I'd go through and get rid of a bunch of stuff, because when the kids are little, they're growing through so many, like they're going through so many developmental changes. They're not going to play games, you know, after certain games, they're going to graduate to different ones. So we went through there. We've just been like decluttering like crazy, Jason and I. I think it's how we're coping with our first birdie leaving the nest. So he got a bunch of games and stuff like that going off to the thrift store to donate. But then I was going through, so I'm such a little pack rat. I will have things like stashed, So I had a big box of magazines, like good magazines like Somerset Studio, Cloth, Paper, Scissors, stuff like that someone had given me. And I would take a magazine out on the deck, or I take one to the beach and I flip through it. But I haven't had that leisure time like I usually do. Or if I have that time, I'm like watercoloring in my sketchbook, or I'm doing something different. I'm not like flipping through a magazine for whatever reason. So I brought that case of magazines into my office. It's over there. I'm going to go through it, and I'm also going to go through all my stamp binders and weed through again. I haven't weeded through them in a couple of years, and I think there's more I could let go of, especially if I knew that they were ones my friends might want. Like I have some cute animal ones. They're like cats and dogs. They're by Stupendous, and they have the dies that go with them, and their head, like you can use a wobble spring and the head will bobble because the head and the body are separate. You stamp them separately. And my friend Cindy does all kinds of like, she makes crafts to be auctioned off for some animal shelter charities. And I'm like, well, that'd be perfect for those things she does. And then it's a stamp and a die, so it would go a lot quicker, and she could like raise money for her thing. And they also look like her style too. They're very fun. They're realistic, but they're also a little cute. So I'm gonna see if she wants those. But I'm sure there's a lot of things I could part with. Either I've used it enough that I'm kind of like tired of it, or ones that I'm like, I had the best intentions, but it never got used, which, you know, I'm not in that season of life anymore, or that's a project fantasy Lindsay would have done, but reality Lindsay wouldn't do. It was funny because my husband's he'll talk about Fantasy Jason now, and we were going through the games, and Jason goes, Fantasy Jason played tons of board games with his kids, and, you know, it was funny, but also a little sad, although he's the one that plays board games. I cannot stand board games. I feel bad, like, saying it out loud, but I do not like board games. I never have, even as a kid. I don't like them. I'm too competitive. I get very like mean-spirited, I think, when I play. I don't like who I become when I play board games, so I just don't. So we got rid of a bunch of board games. We kept the classics, so the kids love playing Monopoly of all things. And we've got like Scrabble and Trivial Pursuit, which I like playing Trivial Pursuit, but I get a little out of hand, so yeah. It's not a good thing. I don't know why. It's just a game, but I get so competitive. I don't know, and I get like defend my. I just can't let it go. If I'm right about something, it's like, no, I'm not letting it go. Like a dog with a bone. I just can't. I can't. It's just a game. I don't know why. I just can't relax. Board games are not fun for me. I have a lot of hobbies, and that's not one of them. Oh yeah, so we're going through and we found, we have these big boxes, these big totes of like memorabilia for the kids. So whenever they bring home artwork at the end of the year, I'd save most of it. I'd look at it, and if I thought it was something they might like to see when they're older. So I've got these humongous, 3 big, huge totes. Maybe it's 4 big totes of kids memorabilia, trophies, medals, that sort of thing. And they're not divided up by kid or anything. They're almost chronological, because I would fill a tote and I'd start another tote. And then I found this box, and it was some of Jackson's stuff that he just tucked down cellar. And they're a pair of baseball cleats, or they might be soccer. I think he played baseball with. I know with one sport you might be able to use baseball cleats for soccer, but you can't use soccer for baseball. It goes one way or the other way. There's one type of cleats you can use for both. But one is only specific for one. I can't remember which it is. But anyways, there's a pair of cleats. And there's also a pair of Nike indoor track spikes that were his, and they barely got worn because he only used them for 1 year, which I thought they were kind of ridiculous. I'm like, really, what kind of time is that going to shave off a kid who's, you know, just starting track their time? But anyway, they had to have it. And so my husband has the same size feet as Jackson. So I said, honey, do you think you might want to take up softball? Because you know how like adults play softball sometimes, or some other sport that would require cleats. And my husband says to me, he goes, honey, I'm 50 years old and I have bad knees. What sport do you think I should take up? And we laughed. And so that was fun. It was fun just to go through all this stuff, because I always have to put out these ideas. Okay, can we use this for something else, or can we just get rid of it? But we've decided that, you know, we'll let Jackson decide what he wants to do with his cleats. He might want to play, do something or play something. Where his apartment is, there's a really nice sports complex near where he lives that he might want those sporting footwears. I don't know. I never played sports, but I think softball sounds fun. I think slow pitch. Now, mind you, not the softball that my daughters play. That's insane. The balls go too fast. But like a slow pitch adult softball with a bunch of middle-aged people, that sounds like fun. I don't think I would get over competitive. You know, I think that would be fun. They could just stick me out in the outfield if I got out of hand, I guess. I have no coordination, mind you. No like distance coordination. I can juggle. You know, I've got that. I've got like close coordination, like fine motor skills. I don't have the gross motor skills though that you need for sports, I think. Boy, we got off on a tangent. So yeah, I'm thinking about going through a bunch of stuff over there. I did reorganize my watercolor tubes, and I did a video on it. Then I'm thinking, this is unremarkable. Should I even post it? I haven't even uploaded it yet, but it's on my hard drive, and I'm like, it's not really innovative, but maybe someone will like it. I never know what people will like. So I did a wreath this week. I made a book page paper wreath. It's on my YouTube channel. And I took an old book that I bought it in a bargain bin, and I thought the book looked good, and I gave it a couple tries, and I'm like, this is just too boring. I can't, I mean, I don't say it's boring. I'm sure it's a great book. I know it's a great book. It has like awards, I think. But I just couldn't get into it. And it's not like the book was in great condition or anything like that. It's not, you know, I didn't think it was really worth passing on. It's got a little, like, you know, pretty shop worn. So I'm like, I'm going to use that. And I made a book page wreath. I made paper flowers from those dies that I bought at the thrift store. And it came out pretty cute, but oh my gosh, I was burning myself with hot glue. I was cursing the whole thing. I'm like, why did I decide I want to make a wreath? It never goes well. My wreaths are always so ugly, unless they're like the evergreen wreaths, which, you know, you can't screw up another wreath. They look great. And then, so I posted it, and I posted it yesterday, and I thought, oh, nobody's going to want to watch this. And I posted a photo on Instagram, because I hadn't put anything on Instagram for a while. But I'm like, oh, this is going to make my numbers go down. People loved it. I mean, it didn't get the amount of views. It didn't get a super ton amount of views or likes, but it got a lot of comments, a lot of engagement, and the people that liked it really liked it. So I was like, oh, awesome. And then the library wants me to go down there and teach that as a class. So we might try to work it up like Christmas, do like a Christmas themed one, and teach that in a month or two. But there's so much prep work on that. There's so much die cutting and ink spraying and stuff that I'm gonna have to like see if I can get the library assistants to help me with that, because I have two die cutters. I have my Big Shot, which I use all the time, and I bought a backup a few years ago. AC Moore had the letterpress system on clearance for like $40, and it came with an Epic 6. Was that Spellbinders? It came with the Epic 6 machine. It works fine. I don't like that die cutter as much because it takes way more cranks to get the dies through than my Big Shot, but it's a great backup. And I have found with some fiddly dies, it works better than the Big Shot, because my Big Shot's old and really heavily used, and I think the rollers have gotten loose over the years. You know, it's not as tight of as a unit as the one that I haven't used very much. So I could bring both of those down, bring all the dies, and we could crank through a bunch of those shapes. But anyway, so I might be teaching that in a class. That'd be fun. I haven't taught a live class since before the pandemic, I don't think. So that would be very exciting to do. So yeah. Oh, what was I getting? Oh, organizing. So I organized my watercolor tubes. I always find that very satisfying, to organize something and to clean something out and to declutter. And so then I was thinking, you know, when I was organizing my watercolor tubes, I was looking for something with high walls, like the Dollar Tree baskets that I got, but I didn't want to go to the Dollar Tree and buy anything because I had no plans to go into town. I haven't left this house in so long, other than to walk the dog. So, but I don't need to go. I don't feel like going. We're in a pandemic. I just don't want to deal with it. But anyway, so I'm like, oh, I know, I'll use those nice cardboard boxes that the watercolor sets I get comes in, because they're really sturdy, but they're too shallow. So that wasn't going to work, because I really want to use the depth of my drawers, the shallow drawers that are about 4 inches deep, to store my watercolor tubes. So, anyways, I dug around in my big tote of empty storage, and I found some parts bins that I could use, and it was fine. It worked great. Didn't need to go buy anything. But then I was thinking that I want to use my watercolor powders more and my mica more, but they're in these tilt bins from the hardware store, and it's not really, it's not great to just grab what you want and go. You kind of have to take the whole thing out and take everything out of it to use it. But then I thought, what if I had a couple empty shallow drawers, and I'm like, I could pull those out and I could put those watercolor boxes in there, and the ones the watercolor tins come in, and then I could put all my watercolor powders in there, so I can just grab what I want and just take the whole drawer with me when I need to go do something. And I could do one for mica and one for watercolor powders, and that's what I think I'm going to do after I film this. I don't know if maybe I'll film it. I don't know. I mean, how many of these organizing videos would people be interested in seeing? I don't know. I find it interesting to do it. I don't know if I'd find it interesting to watch it, but yeah, so that's how I'm coping with the empty nest, to just like organize all the things, declutter, all of that stuff. And it's nice to have a deadline though, because it's like, okay, I'm going to see my friends sometime next week, because I have a friend that's in town, and so I know that if I get all that stuff together, and if I know it's going to like potentially go to one of my dear friends, I could part with more things, and then I just gotta tell myself that afterwards, if they don't want them, then I will let them go to the thrift store. I don't know what it is. It's like it's the same result whether we it's the same result in our personal lives, whether we throw something in the trash or we donate it or recycle it, right? Or we give it to a friend. It's the same result. We have it out of our life, right? But for whatever reason, I cannot, like, if I know it's something like those stamp sets with dies, I mean, they're cute. I'd probably use them maybe a few more times in my life, like, you know, for a new puppy card or something like that. But knowing that if it was going to go in the trash, then I would keep it. And I would keep it to use it again. But if a friend wanted it, I'd be like, here you go, you can have it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's easy to pass along to somebody you know is going to use it, you know? But if I think it's going to go in the trash, then, and it still has useful life, then it's like, I'm going to keep it. You know what I mean? It's so weird. I mean, I'm sure somebody would be thrilled to find that at the thrift store. So I might just donate it. I don't know. It's funny. It's the endowment effect where we have something, and once we own it, we perceive it to have more value. And a lot of these things that I'm parting with are things that I have from some freelance projects that I did, because I haven't done sponsored videos this year, and I have no qualms with any of my clients. They're all wonderful companies, but you know, sometimes, you know, you're using what they want to promote, like, or they might say, I'm placing an order with this company. Out of these sets, what do you think I should order? Something like that. They might ask for my advice, and I might say, oh, I think that one, and that one. Because they should say, what could you work with? What would be the best for you to work with? What would you prefer? And it might not be something that I'd prefer out of all the things, but out of that company, I'm like, oh yeah, that would be fun. I'd do a project with that, and I'll enjoy it, and I'll like my artwork that I make with it, but chances are I'm not going to use it a million times. And so there's like Christmas stamps that have to be colored, like beautiful Christmas stamps that need like paper piecing or coloring or a lot of die cutting, things like that. It's like, that's beautiful, but the only time I'm going to use that is on Christmas projects. And when I'm doing Christmas cards, I am not spending an hour on a Christmas card. I am batching those out because I just can't. I mean, I could do it for a video for a YouTube channel or for a client or something like that, just show the possibilities of it. But realistically, I'm not spending an hour on a Christmas card when I've got to make 75 of them. So, not got to, but I like to make my Christmas cards, but I can't spend that kind of time on it, and I would get burned out if I had to make more than one of the same, you know? So stuff like that, like elaborate Christmas products, that sort of thing. But anyway, that's probably what I'm going to do this afternoon. I have a new podcast episode up, and it's talking about, it's talking about different craft trends and some of the sea changes I've seen recently, and it's also talking about a little drama in the craft community this week. So I think I have my podcast linked in all my video descriptions from recent videos, but it's anchor.fm/Lindsay Weirich, I believe, is the podcast URL. If not, I think it's in the video description. So you can check that out if you want to. You should be able to subscribe on whatever podcast app you like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever. I think it goes to all of them. If you have a podcast platform you listen to and you can't find it, let me know, and I will submit it manually. But if you search either the Frugal Crafter blog or Lindsay Weirich, it should be there, because I started integrating it through my WordPress blog, so it's attached to that as well. But yeah, the homepage of it will be in the video description. I don't know that much about podcasting. I'm just kind of, you know, pressing buttons and learning as I go. But I'm enjoying it because I used to do radio, and I think it's a fun outreach of that. And I do think I love podcasts. I love to listen to them, so it's fun to give to that community. Anyway, what else? Oh my. Let's see. Oh, would you guys also, on the Wreath project, would you be interested if I do a Christmas version, seeing a Christmas version of that? Let me know, because I could do a video on that if I'm making a bunch of those anyway. I'll have to make a Christmas version before I go to teach it, so I could maybe even do like a more abbreviated version than the, hopefully with less glue burns. And yeah, it was a rough one, guys. It was a little bit of a rough tutorial. I didn't know if it was gonna see the light of day, to be quite honest. It was a little rough, I've got to say. Oh, I think I've got everything on my list. Oh, that's good. I didn't know. I feel like I went on so many different little tangents here that I wasn't sure if I actually listed all the things that I meant to talk about. So what have you been working on this week? Have you been crafty? Have you been getting the kids ready for the school year? I always feel like, you know how like January can seem like, you know, the best time to start something new? For me, it's always fall because the kids, once the kids get in school, I have more time. You know what I mean? And when I started my first online business was when the girls started pre-K, and they were in half-day pre-K, and my son was in full-day kindergarten. So they both started at the public school on the same day. And before that, my son did some preschool, but that preschool had closed. It was a Montessori school, and I just didn't know any other really good ones I wanted to enroll him in. So, and maybe he might have actually been in that Montessori school until he started kindergarten. I'm not sure. I can't remember. It was so long ago. But anyway, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life after when the kids started school, and I decided that I was going to start something online, try to monetize what I was doing online, and I was either going to start substitute teaching once the girls were in kindergarten and in school all day, or if whatever I had tried to do online. So I've been like submitting stuff to magazines. That didn't pay very well, and I had been, you know, trying to get a book proposal out there, and I didn't get anywhere with that. So I started doing digital stamps and digital die cutting files and party printables and things like that. And that's kind of how it all started, which was neat because I gave myself a year. I'm like, if I can't make as much as I would make substitute teaching with this online business, then I will just sign up to be a substitute teacher, and then I would be on the same schedule as my kids because I still wanted to stay home with them. And it worked out. So yeah, isn't that funny? And now the girls are seniors in high school. Jack's out of the house, working. It's crazy how fast time goes, isn't it? It just goes to show you though, if you want something bad enough and you work as something like it's a job even before you're getting paid, then you can make it happen. And anybody can do that. You know, it's a marathon. It's just showing up every single day. And it's for anything you want to learn. If you just show up every single day and try, you can do it. You know, it's surprising it took as long as it did, you know, honestly. But yeah, I think it's encouraging. Anyway, is there anything else I had to talk about? I don't know. What a crazy week. What a crazy life. What is life, right? The pickup truck's been in the shop. It should be coming home. We can go pick it up at any time. It needs some stuff. You know, cars get to a certain age, and you just take them in once a year to get that inspection sticker and let them solder on whatever is falling off. And whatever's about to fall off, let them reattach whatever's about to fall off, and you're good for another year. So I'm hoping that with the pickup truck back, oh my gosh, all the mechanic shops are so busy. So we're bringing it back for a couple weeks and then taking it back when it's time to work on it. But I'm like, yeah, I want to get a couple more kayak trips in before the weather gets too cold. And hopefully I'd like to get the paddleboard out maybe this weekend where it's you know, but after that I'm not going to want to be on the paddleboard just because, you know, I'm not going to want wet feet if it's cold outside. But I definitely want to get that kayak out a few more times. And in October when the leaves change, it's going to be so pretty. So I hope you have some wonderful plans this weekend. Get outside, enjoy it if you have good weather, or stay inside and craft if you don't. And thank you again for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye!